Okay, welcome everyone to our Motherwell Community Board meeting. Just before we start, I'm just going to ask if we could observe a minute's silence just in order to mark the passing of Her Majesty the Queen. So if we can just observe that now. Thanks. Okay, thanks everyone for that. So we'll start the meeting. Just want to check if there's any apologies. Understand, Leanne, you might have some in the absence of Darren. You're on mute, Leanne. Anyone else? No. No, we can't hear you. Okay, that's fine. Thanks, Leanne. So minutes of the previous meeting from the 20th of June. Just want to check if we're happy with those. Thanks, Nan. And if any...
Sorry, Aisha, I wanted to make a couple of points.
Oh, right. No, that's fine, Nan. Just before you come in, Nan, I'm just aware that we might have some faces that not everyone knows. So we'll come back to you, Nan, if that's okay. And it might just be useful just to do a quick run around, just because I'm aware, just looking round, that we do have some faces. So is that okay if we can just do that? And I'll just go round the room, Leanne, maybe just keep me right in case I miss anyone. So Ian Johnson, Van Ale, can you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name's Ian Johnson from Volunteer Action North Lanarkshire. I'm the Community Concordat Coordinator.
Thanks, Ian. Alex?
Thank
you. Alec Baird, Chairman of Befriend Motherwell Trustees and also representing the St Andrews Parish Church in the middle of the town.
Thanks, Alex. Anne Thomas?
Hello, Anne Thomas, Councillor for Ward 18, Motherwell North.
Thanks, Anne. Alison Guthrie?
Hi, can you hear? I'm not sure
we
if
can
you
hear you, Alison. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Yes, Motherwell resident and liaison for the local RSPB group, the Lanarkshire local RSPB group, and the Baronshof Nature Reserve.
Lovely. Thanks, Alison. Lorna Ogilvie?
Hello, I'm Lorna Ogilvie. I'm a project development officer within the enterprise projects team at the council, and I'm here today for the presentation on active travel.
Lovely. And Leanne? Okay, Leanne. we'll come back to you. Paul Kelly?
Hi, I'm Paul Kelly. I'm one of the councillors for Motherwell West. Thank you.
Thanks. Andrew Duffy-Lawson?
Good evening, everybody. Andrew Duffy-Lawson, councillor for Motherwell North, Ward 18.
Thanks. Nan McIntosh? You're on mute, Nan.
Me? Nan McIntosh. I'm the Secretary from Newt Hill Community Council.
Thanks, Nan. Pam Humphreys.
Hi, evening. Pamela Humphreys, Head of Planning and Regeneration and the Community Coordinator for the Motherwell Community Board.
Brilliant, thanks, Pam. Colin Smith.
Colin Smith, Manager for North Lanarkshire Cares Together, and apologies, my camera's off because my connection is shocking and I'm teared through my phone.
Thanks. And Louise.
Hi, Louise Haley from Craignuke Lifelong Learning. I'm the Project Development Worker.
Thanks, Louise. And I've just got the Venny, Ian.
Oh, there we go. Hi, I'm Ian White. I run Glencastle's Community Development Project in Craignuke, also known as the Venny.
Brilliant, thank you. And finally, Natalie Lindsay.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute there. I'm too used to Teams. I'm Natalie Lindsay and I'm the Health Improvement Senior for Motherwell.
Brilliant, thank you. And David Robb, I think you were the last one. Yeah, if you want to come in.
Thanks, Aisha. Yeah, David Robb. I'm a councillor for Motherwell South East and Ravenscraig, Ward 19.
Brilliant. Have I missed anyone? No.
Yes. Aisha, Councillor Duffy's here as well.
Oh, Councillor Duffy, in you come.
Kenny Duffy, like David, one of the councillors for Motherwell South East and Ravenscraig.
That's lovely. And is there a Mr. Maguire?
Yes, aye, sorry. It's Jim Maguire. I'm the manager for infrastructure and transportation at North Lanarkshire Council. And I'll also be talking to the presentation on active travel.
Brilliant, okay. Anyone else? Have I missed anyone? I think we managed to get round everyone. Right, that's lovely, and it's great to have a really good turnout. So yeah, welcome everyone, and yeah, we'll move on to the matters arising from the minutes from the previous meeting. Nan, you would want to come in?
Yes, Aisha, just 2 points on the previous minutes. On section 4, the welfare park, it's a bit difficult with the grammar or the spelling, but it says moorland walk, it should be woodland walk. And where it says flower baskets, it should be flower railings. And we're still looking for 2 inners for the railing planters, not outers.
Okay.
And the other point was at the end for action updates. From myself, the comment I'd made about the traffic wardens, the part that says if you contact the traffic wardens, they'll come out if they're contacted, as it worked in my local area. I don't know who said that, but it certainly wasn't me. And that's the only points.
Okay, thanks, Nan. We'll get those amendments added to the minutes. Pam, will you want to come
in? Thanks, Councillor Khan. It wasn't to an amendment to the minutes, or it was an update. So if you want to, is everybody else happy with the minute before I give the update? Yeah. So it was just, and maybe Nan and Alec can confirm this, but I was asked about chasing up the community benefits that Balfour Beatty had promised in relation to the works for the station. So it was, I got an update just at the end of last week to say that those all of the promises or the commitments had been progressed, and that there had been contact with both Alec's group and Nan, the Community Council. So if I'm hoping that Alec and Nan will agree with that. If not, happy to pick up with them after the meeting.
Yeah, just to say, I spoke to Bethany, who said yes, it was okay. But I had a meeting with one of the somebody else from the council who questioned about us putting benches in the park, that we would need authorisation from North Lanarkshire Council. So I'm presuming that should be done if it's via North Lanarkshire Council anyway, but just another issue.
Okay, I can check that, Nan. I'm not aware. I mean, to be fair, I don't think my team would have directly picked that up, but we can certainly do that now.
Superb, thanks.
Pam, just to confirm, and thank you for your intervention, that Bethany did indeed phone me a few weeks ago now
Yeah.
I'm not stressed about it. She was very helpful, and I haven't heard from her the last few days, but I'm quite sure that'll be forthcoming. So thank you for your intervention. That was most helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
Lovely. Okay. So any other issues from the minutes of the 20th of June? Happy to move on. Okay, so agenda item number 4, the local priorities. We're going to have a presentation on the active travel. So Lorna and Jim.
Yeah, I'll just share the presentation and then pass over to Jim, who'll start the presentation. So just bear with me. Can you all see that presentation on your screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay,
Right,
thanks
over
very
to you,
much,
Jim.
Lorna. Yeah, the idea was just to give you an overview of active travel, particularly with a focus on Motherwell. So we'll run through the presentation. I'll cover off the first few slides. Lorna will finish off with some specifics on projects she's working on in Motherwell, and then there'll be an opportunity for some questions at the end. Okay, thanks. Next slide, please, Lorna. So I guess the first thing to probably note is that we published our active travel strategy last year. It's an overarching strategy which basically brings together our priorities and vision for active travel across the council area. And you'll see the time frame for that is from 2021 to 2030. I suppose the key thing and focus for us in the short term is to provide really good and effective active travel links to and from our community hubs. And as it's got in the slide there, that's really the focus we have at the moment. But the intention is to effectively spread that infrastructure out from the hubs to connect communities and then destinations beyond North Lanarkshire. So that's a really important point. We're starting at the centre, around our communities where we've got the most need and the biggest potential uptake in using infrastructure. And we'll work our way out across the network and connect to beyond not just Motherwell, but across our neighbouring local authorities. You'll see there in the slide that we've got some work that's underway, and currently those projects in development are Meadowhead Road, Motherwell Town Centre, Ravenscraig, and there's planned work for Windmill Hill Street to Ravenscraig as well. And then there's Airbogs Road and Ravenscraig to Hollowtown, and we'll touch on these in subsequent slides. Just to give you an idea, we will actually send out copies of this after, because it's kind of difficult to take this in and at the scale particularly, but I think what you would hope you would see from this is that we've got a map here that shows existing active travel routes, so that's for cyclists and pedestrians. But we've also showed on those routes that are currently being planned and ones that we want to develop in the future. And what you should see from that map is that it probably sets out what I said a minute ago, which is that we've got a good active travel network connecting not only Motherwell, but with the neighbouring towns and indeed over to South Lanarkshire at Hamilton as well. So I won't go through that in detail, but I think you'll see that we've got a pretty comprehensive network that's under development and planned for the future. Just touching on what's planned at the moment for Meadowhead Road. We've been developing proposals over the last 12 months, done quite a lot of surveys and investigation work. So what we're proposing to do in Meadowhead Road is to widen the footway out the north side to create a shared use path from Roseby Avenue towards the pump track at the end of the road. It also includes traffic calming measures to reduce speeds down to 20 miles per hour. We're putting in improved junctions, which will help to slow down traffic, but also make it easier for pedestrians to negotiate them. We're also proposing to replace all the street lighting and replace it with LED lighting, which will significantly improve in the evening. Also, the intention is to resurface all footways and the entire carriageway of the road. So in a sense, from one end to the other, from Meadowhead Road, it will be brand new footways, brand new carriageway with the traffic calming installed. And the other thing that we're going to look at as well is that in doing all that work and all that investment, we want to make sure that the drainage in there is up to scratch. And if there's anything that needs replaced, we're going to do it as part of the works. In terms of where we're going with programme with that, we are about to start community consultation from 26 September to 16th of October. That will be online. We'll publish this on the council's website, and we've got a good formula that we've used in other community consultation events. So the combination of a website on the council's, well, based on the council's website, with a storyboard on it that basically explains what the proposals are, and it's a user-friendly format. And at the end of it, we've got a short questionnaire to obtain the views of people responding. It's also our intention, in line with what we've done elsewhere, to letter drop every single resident in Meadowhead Road so that they get a copy of the proposals and information that sends them to the council's website. Following the consultation, the intention is to get the feedback from the event itself, and then hopefully finalise the proposals and take into account any feedback that we have through that process. We then need to go through a process of promoting the necessary traffic regulation orders. That's really twofold: one for the change of speed limit to 20 miles per hour, and for the road humps as well, which require a statutory consultation. All being well, and we get favourable feedback from the consultation exercise, and we get the support through the traffic regulation order process without objections, we are hopeful that we can start to commence the procurement of construction works in late December through to March. And with that all being favourable, we'd want to be able to start hopefully work in March, April next year, and hopefully have the works completed by August next year before the schools return. So we try to do the works primarily when the schools are off. Thanks, Lorna.
Thanks, Jim.
Lorna will just take you through the rest of the slides. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. So the couple of other projects in area of focus of kind of current projects and projects planned for this and next financial year are Motherwell Town Centre and Ravenscraig. So Motherwell Town Centre, board's probably aware of the current works underway on Muir Street linked to the wider station improvements. And as part of that, we're delivering new and improved shared paths for walking and cycling on Muir Street, and also improved road crossings. Those works are on at the moment, due for completion towards the end of the year. Linked to this, part of this work and wider town centre work, again building out from the kind of framework of the active travel strategy, is looking at the other connections and improvements to and from the station. So the other project for currently out to tender for delivery this year is improvements north from the station along Muir Street. And again, it's looking at widening out the path to provide shared facility for walking and cycling, and also alterations at junctions to move the curb line to improve road crossings. Associated with that, there's works on Hope Street. These are currently being designed and subject to funding will be delivered this year into next financial year. Again, they're looking at improving the existing provision through shared paths for walking and cycling, and signalising, putting a signalised junction at the roundabout at Hope Street and Muir Street. The other area of focus mentioned is Ravenscraig, and here it's mainly the off-road provision, with the benefit of external funding to deliver these projects. So phase 1, which has seen the connection from Craigneuk into Ravenscraig, basically a north-south route linking from Meadowhead Bridge at the new development of the castings up to O'Donnell Way and the new park and Ravenscraig Sports Facility. So that has recently been completed in July. And as a second phase to that is proposed an east-west spur. So it's basically going from Meadowhead Bridge, the castings, new development, west to Robert Hall Road to provide connection to Motherwell College, and then onward to Lincoln with routes into the town centre and up to the station. So those works are designed, currently at tender, and subject to external funding being secured will be delivered this year. We'll know within the next month what the definite programme for that is. I think we're happy, myself and Jim, to take any questions if anyone's got any questions on those current and planned proposals.
Lovely. Thanks, Lorna. Thanks, Jim. So do we have any questions for Lorna or Jim? Yeah, so we've got David Robb, I think, put his hand up first. Councillor Robb.
Hi there. Yeah, I haven't had time to digest the information regarding the Meadowhead Road development, and I had spoken to Jim about this. I feel that there's an opportunity being missed there where we can't actually link up the Meadowhead Road onto the Ravenscraig Road. Obviously, it stops at Roseby Drive, and we have that issue going through the housing estate there. Jim didn't mention it, but we did discuss options of signage. But I feel we need to possibly look into it a bit more as to linking up the two pathways.
Thanks, Councillor Robb. Jim, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Robb. Yeah, as we discussed the other day there, yeah, I suppose for everyone's benefit, Meadowhead Road is an important part of an overall active travel network, and it's actually the kind of centre of a kind of vision we have to connect Hamilton through Strathclyde Park, up Airbogs Road, along to Craigneuk, and provide connections on to Ravenscraig and also on to Wishaw General Hospital and indeed Wishaw itself. So as part of that kind of wider strategy, it will be important to have, I guess, two types of signage. One that's more strategic nature, so that folk that are coming from a distance, travelling, say, between Hamilton and Worcester, and we've had requests for that type of thing. We'll have signage to accommodate that, but also local signage as well. So I think, yes, it will be important to look at that. It's something that we'll look in quite a bit of detail. We'll come up with a signage strategy to make sure that folk know where these links are, and they will have to be updated as infrastructure increases and improves. So yeah, take that point on board.
Thanks. Councillor Robb, do you need to come in with any supplementary questions? No. Okay, Alex, do you want to come in?
Thank you very much, Jim. Maybe I missed it, and thanks for your presentation. In relation to the delighted to hear you say you're leafleting all the residents from Meadowhead Road and so on. That's super. But you mentioned quite a bit about online participation. I was wondering how feedback is going to be obtained. I do chair Befriend Motherwell, and although a lot of elderly people are very switched on, it's a heck of a lot that don't know anything about this word called computer or online. Can you indicate, please, in terms of your leaflet dropping and your overall strategy, how those who without access to online feedback, how they might communicate with you? Because I'm quite sure you get some useful feedback. Thank you.
Yes, that's certainly a good point. surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, in the previous ones where we've done a similar exercise, we've actually had very few people write back to us, and they do tend to come back to us online. However, we will be providing an address for folk who want to write back specifically to be able to do that. And of course, we'll take their points on board. So that's why we're going to send out I guess, a copy of what you'll see on the council's website, along with a hard copy of the questionnaire. It's quite straightforward to fill out, and yeah, we'll certainly allow folk to do either. They can either write back to us with their comments or do it online.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. And just before I bring in Nan, I suppose I just want to back that up for Alex's perspective, because a lot of the groups and a lot of the individuals that we work with don't have access to the internet. So yeah, I'd probably just want to back that up just to make sure that we are offering other means of being able to give feedback on that community consultation. Thanks. So Nan, do you want to come in?
Just a quick thing. It sounds fantastic. Just wondering in the long term, and I mean the long term, would you be looking at extending this out into villages? Reason being, pre-COVID, we had a lot of people asking from the village, as in Ute Hill, getting down to Ravenscraig or Motherwell, because our buses stop at 6 o'clock at night. People don't have means of getting anywhere, so you know this would be, cycle paths would be an excellent thing to get from the villages.
Yes, it's a good point to bring up, and that's why we're doing a bit of both, actually. Our main focus is on these, I guess, routes in and out of our town and community hubs, because we want to make sure that those short journeys, as much as possible, are undertaken either on bike or on foot. We have actually we're just in the process, to give you an example, of finishing a 5 kilometre long active travel route between Newhouse and Salisbury. So that's one of our more strategic routes that is providing, or will provide, and it's completely finished, a link between a village to better transport links at Newhouse. So we're doing a bit of both. We'd like to do more. And I always say this to folk, it's not cheap to do this work. And whilst it's about 10% or a tenth of the cost of building a new road, a new active travel link costs us somewhere in the region of about £250,000 to £300,000 per kilometre. So it sounds, and the reality is we probably need to do hundreds of kilometres in North Lanarkshire, so you'll see the cost. So yes, we will try to strike a balance where we can, where we've got opportunities or easy wins within communities. We're doing that. And I'd also want to give you the reassurance that where we've got new development going on, we've been working with some of the developers to put active travel along the frontage of their sites and indeed through their sites to provide onward connections. So it will take a bit of time, but we do have a focus in making sure that our entire community is joined up.
Lovely, thanks very much.
Thanks. Colin?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of quick questions to yourself, Jim, if that's okay. And it's actually in relation to some of the costs that you were talking about there. When you're doing the online consultation, will there be some kind of caveat or context set around where the funding has come from? I'm just thinking in terms of engaging with as many people as possible, particularly through the cost of living crisis that we're finding ourselves rushing towards. You might not get all that much engagement, or you might get the kind of usual suspects saying, why are you not spending this on X, Y, or Z? I think it's important to clarify that it's that the funding for these types of projects are completely unrelated to wider budget pressures.
Yeah, it is a good point, but the money that we'd be using for this can come from various sources. Some of it's the council's own money, some of it's from the Scottish Government. In fact, we've put an application in for additional funding from the Scottish Government specifically for this project. But it is ring-fenced for projects that involve active travel, road safety improvements. So it's not that we're taking something or a budget or a funding allocation that could be used for, say, housing improvements and using it for this. it's entirely ring fenced for this type of work.
Yeah, and just the second point, if I may, just on the proposed adaptations to Hope Street, and I know that that's still funding dependent. In terms of where the active travel sort of developments are going to be, will there be any kind of changes to the road in Hope Street to accommodate the active travel pathways? The reason I'm asking is that when you're on Hope Street on the way to Menteith Road, although it's a single lane traffic lane, a lot of drivers tend to turn it into a two-lane road, and it can cause a bit of confusion and a wee bit of argy-bargy about the rush hour time. So it's just to see if your plans for the active travel sites are going to encroach a little bit in the road, which would actually alleviate some of that confusion.
Okay, well look, I'll pass that one on to Lorna because she's actually specifically working in that project, but understand your point.
Yeah, hello. The proposals are still being developed for that, but they will be shared online, made available. But certainly in the meantime, I can come back to either to future meeting or by email to give what further information I can and the detail of that and how it affects the road and what the reallocation is.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And final question, Ian, Benny?
Hi, I just wanted to say, obviously, I run the Venny, which is at the Meadowhead Road onto Glencairn Avenue corner where the pump track is, and I would be more than happy if you want to have a drop in during that session at the Venny. I would be happy for that to happen, so local people can drop in and have their say there if they can't get online and things like that.
Okay, well look, I guess what we'll do is we'll wait and see what kind of feedback we get, and if we've got any specific issues, yeah, we can think about another way of engaging with folk that are having any particular difficulty in either filling out the form or indeed having difficulty accessing the council's website. I will give you some reassurance. We do rigidly test all these before they go live, so it should be able to be viewed from any type of device. So so we try and make sure that there's no going to be any technical impediments. So if someone's got any kind of device, phone, tablet, laptop, it should be able to open with any software that's on any device. But yeah, I've taken, we have been through this in a few other projects, and there are some people who obviously have some challenges, and we're more than happy to help them out.
Thanks, Jim. I think just one of my comments or observations is very much the community consultation timescales from the 26th of September to the 16th of October feels quite tight. And I think, I don't know if my third sector colleagues here would agree that for us to do a proper community consultation, that timescale really is pretty tight. You know, Ian at the Venny made a very good point that if we're going to offer a community consultation from, for example, the Venny, then we really need to be possibly extending these timescales so that we do have a proper community consultation where it is engaging all residents. And I think the online offering probably isn't suffice.
Well, I'm certainly open to pushing the time frame out. One of the things that we wanted to do to make use of another potential funding stream is that we're working, the funding that's potentially available to us requires us to have the project underway by next year, at the start of next year, and actually finish the design. So we can push the time frames out, no problem with that. The only thing would be it would obviously delay the start of implementation, and what I was quite keen to do is make sure that if we can get in and do the work, get it finished before the schools go back after August. So I'm happy to take any suggestions about whether you think another week would be fine. I think if we go to 2 months or 3 months, we'll be really under pressure and unable to deliver it.
I don't think that would be adequate, but I think certainly if there's a consensus agreement here, particularly through some of the community organisations that are represented here, and also, you know, Vanel, we have Ian Johnson. So if we could do something, because active travel is very much an agenda item in the third sector, and community organisations are really wanting to buy into and support it as much as they can. So I think, yeah, if we can get a general consensus here, even just maybe on a follow-up then, if that would be useful for people, maybe if Jim could relook at those timescales and just give us some suggestions. Andrew, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo your comments there, really, about the timescales, especially if we're involving our third sector partners. I speak in that with my third sector hat on, which is my other role. But if you are looking to involve the third sector partners, they have got a wide range of networks and people they work with, but they've also got plan work, and short time skills wouldn't necessarily work for them. And if it means pushing the start date back ever so slightly, then I think it's reasonable to do if you're going to get a better feedback on a consultation. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. And Councillor Rob, is that a new hand?
It is, Aisha, thanks. Just on the back of Ian's offer, I was wondering if it's possible to put up a display of the plans for Meadowhead Road in the venue, and it could actually be displayed there for the week or two so that drop-ins could actually go and look and see it.
Yeah, no problem. We can provide copies of the plans that you can put in there. That's really no problem.
Brilliant. Okay. Thanks, Lorna. Thanks, Jim, for the presentation. Appreciate that. Any more questions before we move on to tackling poverty and inequalities? No. So, Natalie, I'm just aware that are you presenting?
No,
on behalf
Aisha,
of
that was
Mark?
actually, no, Mark doesn't work in Motherwell, and that was sent back to Darren as an error last week. Motherwell doesn't have a poverty subgroup for the LOIP, so I don't know if that's been a bit of a switch over from the Bells Hill agenda, but we don't actually have that kind of subgroup, so I don't know if there's just been a bit of confusion, but Mark did get back to Darren and say that he doesn't attend the Motherwell.
Thanks, Natalie.
Chair, I'll look at that, and I don't know what's happened there. It's obviously been a typo. I never even picked that up on the agenda, so apologies for that.
We'll stay with you, Natalie.
all
Are
new.
you going to give us an update on the tobacco control?
I do. So if you give me, I'll try and share my slides. Please forgive me because I'm used to Teams. So I'll hopefully this will work for you.
I'll give you a minute, Natalie. I'm just
Thank you.
check with Councillor Duffy Lawson. His hand's still up. Do you have another question, Councillor Duffy Lawson, or is it a historical hand? We can see that, Natalie.
Can you see it, Aisha? Yeah.
We can see it, yeah. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just all new. So this is a quick presentation. You'll have had a longer version sent out that you can read through in your own time if you've got any time. And any questions I can take at the end. So it's just a kind of quick introduction to the tobacco services within Lanarkshire and how they've evolved during COVID. So this slide will just show you the current trend in smoking prevalence across Lanarkshire. So nationally, we are aiming to be a tobacco-free generation by 2034, and we were hoping by 2022 that actually 11% of our adult population, only 11% would be smoking. You can see that that has not, we're not on track for that at the moment, and projected 2022 would be around the 16%. So we aren't on track.
Can I ask, can everybody else see that?
I can, yeah, we can, yes.
Yeah,
do
I
you
can
not,
see it.
do you not see some rearranged videos in the stage? No,
Sorry?
you don't see that? Hmm?
Agnes,
Can you not see it, Councillor McGowan?
No, I can see a thing saying rearranged videos in the stage.
if I
press
can try to be helpful, Agnes, if you look at your layout, that might help you see it. If you just look at the way your screen's laid out, there's a little tab on the screen to the right hand side that says layout. That might help you.
Tab saying layout.
Yeah.
We'll let you try and work that out if we're all right. Just to
but you can
continue
all see it.
Anna's presentation. Thanks.
Maybe
sorry about that.
It might be frozen on the wrong slide though. It's on the first slide still. Is that okay?
It's in tobacco control in Lanarkshire. Yeah.
So can nobody see the table?
We can
I
see
can.
tobacco control in Lanarkshire, Natalie. That's it.
No, there's a table. Can anybody see the table? No.
No.
Okay. Try resharing.
That's moved on there, Natalie.
Oh, now that I've stopped sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, these are great things when they work. Okay, you should be seeing a graph now. Can everybody see a graph?
You might need to make it a little bit bigger, Natalie. It's. I don't know if there's a way for you to make it a little bit bigger.
So it's full screen at my end, Aisha. I don't think I can control how other people see it,
We're
unfortunately.
seeing your notes, Natalie. I don't know if you can put it onto slideshow.
It is on slideshow on my computer.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm really sorry, guys. This is not working out as it should do.
Natalie, I think if you just click down through them, it should swap them, but it will be a bit zoomed out.
There is a tab there where you can increase the size of it.
So I think each individual will need to do that then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Third time lucky, Natalie.
I know. I'm so sorry about this. He'll be really glad I'm leaving.
We'll all increase it individually then so we can see it. So if you just want to screen share again, and we'll do the adjustments on our own screen.
Okay. It now won't share, Aisha.
Okay. Can you give us a verbal update then, Natalie?
I can.
Yes.
All of you have the slides, so I'll just read them if that's all right. And these all have got the presentation in the documents as well, and I can take any questions or I can talk to MD privately afterwards as well. So basically, the first kind of slide you'll see is kind of setting the scene of where we are in Lanarkshire. So, as I said, we wanted to be at kind of adults who smoke around 11% by 2022, and we're not on target to reach that. And that's for a number of reasons. But the overall national aim is to be a kind of smoke-free generation, and that would be having no new smokers by 2034. And again, we're not quite on target for that at the moment. South Lanarkshire is slightly better than North at the moment, with South Lanarkshire sitting at 14% of smokers and North Lanarkshire at 16% of smokers. So what we're doing as a service to tackle that is that we have our Quit Your Waste services. Now, these can be for anybody, any adults in Lanarkshire can access these services. And during COVID, we've had to adapt these services quite a lot, but we're keeping it that way because actually we've found that it's more beneficial for people to give them more options on how to access that service. So we have weekly telephone calls and behavioural support for people. We're doing home visits and home delivery of NRT products, which is nicotine replacement therapy. You can access support from your local pharmacy also, and they can also provide that one-to-one behavioural support. We also have introduced more digital means, which doesn't suit everybody, but for some people, digital has been a great benefit. And when we can do video consultations, so some of you might have access to Near Me or Attend Anywhere with your GP and different other services, and we can do that for Quit Your Way as well, especially for our pregnancy clients. And we're doing this for people who have mental health conditions as well, maybe can't get to appointments or face-to-face quite as easily as others. So there's lots of different ways in which we can support you. And what you would do is you would work with one of our advisors or nurses to find the best way that would the support for you. But we're also doing some preventative and protection work. And when we speak about our smoke-free role models, what we're hoping is that even those who do smoke, those adults that do smoke in the community, would become smoke-free role models for the younger generation. And that's really just about teaching people the risks of second-hand smoke and what can happen when our young ones breathe in that second-hand smoke and the impact it can have. We already know that obviously smoking has an impact on our mental and our physical health, but also financial for families as well. So quitting smoking can have a lot of benefits to yourself, but mainly for the wider society, what we're looking at is if they can be more positive role models for each other and for our younger generations. And we do actually have a pledge that businesses and peoples and community group can sign up to become a positive smoke-free role model, and we can do some training around that if it was something that people would be interested in. We are aware that those who live in our most deprived areas are more likely to be harmed by second-hand smoke or be exposed to second-hand smoke. So we're willing to work with anybody across the community that would be willing to get those messages out there, and we can do that through Jenny and the Bear, which is, quite for our younger generations, quite a book. We've got our Big Bear, and she talks about smoking and the risks and things like that. But we also can tailor that to the older age groups as well. And you can't see my slides, but what I'll do is I'll copy all the details of our Quit Your Waste services into the chat function. But I'll also, you've had the presentation sent out, but I'll ask for the details to be sent for our team leader for the team, so that if anybody has any questions that they'd want to ask, they can ask Can, or you can come to myself and I will go to Can and get those answers for you. Sorry, that's a whistle top tour, but without my presentation, it doesn't really seem as interesting.
I appreciate that, Natalie. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Natalie? No? Okay. Thanks, Natalie. Appreciate that. And will this be your last community board meeting, Natalie?
It is, yes. I'm moving on to Airdrie, Aisha. I've secured a permanent contract over in Airdrie. It's somebody external that's coming to Motherwell, and she hasn't started as yet, so I don't have her details to pass on to you. But as soon as she starts, it's the beginning of October, I'll make sure that she's got your details, and I'll make sure that you've got her details, and then that way she can get looped in. And our service manager has started, Louise, as well, who hopefully has managed to get into the meeting, but she has been messaged me say that she's having trouble getting in. But Louise Laurie's our new service manager, and she will be attending going forward as well.
Lovely. Thanks, Natalie, and we wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I know. You're never far away in this small world.
No.
So the digital inclusion is next on the agenda, but I don't see Richard Bolton or Ian White. Leanne, is this one that we're just skipping by?
I do have the update that they would be providing if you want me to briefly just cover that.
I'm Ian White, by the way, just.
Oh, Ian.
Right, okay. We've just been calling you Ian at the Venny, so
Yeah,
okay. Right, fantastic. So Leanne, you're let off the hook. So Ian, are you happy just to give us a
I'll give it a shot. I missed last week's meeting, unfortunately. However, Lynn did send out an email, I think across the community boards back in August. If anyone doesn't have it and wants to see it, I can pass it on to you. I'll leave my email address in the chat. I'll try and give you a kind of brief go over it though. So the subgroup's been going for about a year. I myself only joined like 3 months or so ago as one of the Motherwell reps. If you would like to join, as I say, or any information, just email me. At the moment, the group is kind of reviewing the digital NL partnership strategy and making sure that what the group are doing is aligned to that. There was a Comms World presentation back in June as well, if anyone doesn't know, about the rollout of fibre broadband in North Lanarkshire. I think that's available on the North Lanarkshire Council's YouTube channel as well, if anyone wants to watch it. And again, the subgroup are just going to try and make sure we're working with Comms World to help them invest in their places, I suppose. There was a mapping exercise done, I think, before I joined the group. I have also done a mapping exercise in the Craignook area. So again, I would be interested to talk to the active travel team about if they're developing Meadowhead Road. I'm aware, obviously, in the venue itself, our broadband speed is 1.5 megabytes. I know across Glencairn Avenue and the top of Meadowhead Road, it's about the same as well. And these are the most deprived areas as well. So I would be interested to see if there's a way to kind of work together to help that roll out. And that's about it, really. So if anyone wants more information, just send me an email and I'll update you next time.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Ian. Any questions for Ian? No. Councillor McGowan?
I'm sorry I was late into the meeting. I was running grandchildren to guides, etc. And I missed the Meadowhead Road presentation, but David, Rob and I had been at it last week. And I was just wondering, you know, with wanting to put the new fibre broadband in or whatever, Ian, will that include digging up pavements? Because in the new Meadowhead Road scheme, you know, they're going to do all the pavements, resurface the road, and you know, it always happens, I think, that you just resurface the pavements and then suddenly somebody comes and wants to put wires under the ground. So it would be good if it was a partnership. And
yeah,
you know,
I think Councillor McGowan, it's probably directed at more Jim or Lorna. I don't know if any of the two are still on, who did the active travel presentation rather than Ian. Pam, do you want to come in?
I was just going to say, I think Jim and Lauren have left the meeting, but I'll pick that up with Jim tomorrow because it's obviously a good point, and that's always the ideal, but as we all know, it sometimes doesn't always work out like that. But I'll certainly pick that up, Councillor McGowan, and get back to you.
Thanks, Pamela.
Lovely. Thanks. Colin?
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, I'll kind of bounty Jim's expertise, Pam, in terms of whether there's any digging needing required, but I do have a personal reflection on the superfast broadband fibre. It tends to come, Agnes, from the BT telegraph poles that are in people's gardens or on the roadside. But it does entail, if you're wanting to get it put into your house, it does entail an upgrade to the line, and the BT or OpenReach engineers do require access to the telegraph poles. Which was fine away back in the day, but now more and more people own their properties, and there is widespread denial of access for the OpenReach engineers to get in to be able to upgrade these lines in the poles, and quite often houses aren't able to get access to it because there's other neighbour disputes with OpenReach because they've got poles in their back garden. So it might be one or two councillor inquiries that end up in your email inbox, Agnes.
Okay, thanks, Colin.
Any other questions? No. Okay, so we will move on to the community safety and community engagement. However, we don't have any representation from Police Scotland or station commanders. So I don't know, Leanne, if you've got any verbal updates or if we just move on.
No, they did. There were reports circulated, I think, certainly from Scottish Fire and Rescue Service anyway. So if there were any comments or questions, just send them to us and we can pick them up. And I think the Concordat work around community engagement stuff's coming up later in the agenda. So no, I would just skip over that just now.
Okay. And I think they did put their apologies in, just obviously with the passing of Her Majesty the Queen, and I think their commitments are obviously taken up with that. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is the community matters. So this gives us an opportunity to get some input from community groups, and just if anyone wants to give us an update, then we will do that now, and then we can move on to, as Leanne said, the update on the community concordat. Alison, you've got your hand up. Do you want to give us an update?
Yes, can I just give you an update on Barons Hoch RSPB Reserve? Just to let people know that the Phoenix Hide was demolished during the summer on the grounds of safety, and that will not be replaced in its current form. The reserve has recently been awarded a grant from Scottish Government through Nature Scot for £210,000, and with additional investment from the RSPB, there will be investment in excess of £250,000 on the site over the next 2-3 years. The groundwork will not start until after the breeding season next year, so broadly late in 2023. As you know, the Clyde Walkway Path and also the Sustrans route, which currently run or have been running around the through the reserve alongside the river, will be diverted, and I think technically already have been diverted as part of that redevelopment of the site. So new walks, new paths, new viewing stations will be included in the development, and the local group have been very persistent in saying that we need better visitor facilities, particularly access to toilets, and I know that the staff on site also need access to power and to internet. So I'm sure they will be coming to you, but certainly within the next few years there will be significant changes to the Barons Hoch Nature Reserve.
Lovely, thank you for that, Alison. And I think, yeah, you're getting a couple of thumbs up and round of applause. So Nan, you've got your hand up. Do you want to come in? And then I'll bring you in, Councillor McGowan, after Nan.
Hi, Aisha. It's just to give a quick update of some things that are happening in the village. The football pitch that we
Sorry,
have.
Nan, I'm just going to check with Councillor McGowan to see if our question relates to Alison first.
Right,
And
no
then,
problem.
yeah, I'll bring you in for your update.
Thanks very much, Aisha. It wasn't really a question, it was just a comment that I walk down Barnes Hoch all the time, and I'm a member of the RSPB, the local group. I don't make many of their meetings, but I'm absolutely delighted, Alison, to hear that news that you got 350,000. That's fantastic news. Is
250,000.
250. Well, I'm increasing it. So is any going to be put to, you know, a resource centre of some sort, or you didn't mention?
Well, this is what we have been talking.
You wanted.
Yeah, this is what we have been talking to them about, and I think the answer is we're not entirely sure yet at the moment, but we have certainly been emphasising that this reserve should be the premier education reserve for the RSPB in terms of wildlife education for Central Scotland because of its location, which is superb. I think it's fair to say, although, you know, I'm not sure sort of how widespread some of these things are, that the RSPB are looking at and have had teams of their staff out looking at both the natural history and access source, but also the wider implications for resource facilities, accessibility, use by a range of different groups of people, from school children to the less able, you know, people with mobility issues and so on. So they are looking at it now more seriously than they have ever, as far as I'm aware, in the past. And this financial package that they have been awarded, I think, will make a tremendous difference. And we will continue to advocate on behalf of the local community and to push the local community and access needs and facilities on the reserve.
Thanks, Alison.
And just to let you know also that we were, I did apply for and we did receive a recovery grant, which has now been spent, and the equipment has all been delivered to the reserve and is already being used on the reserve. And it includes improved notice facilities, so it includes lecterns that will be able to be moved around the reserve, and also 30 litter picking outfits for children, so that as part of their education programme they will be able to emphasise the importance of, you know, caring for your local environment.
Brilliant. Thanks for that update.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Nan, do you want to give us an update now on your Hull Community Council?
Yeah, just a quick update, Aisha. as probably many places have got, we have been shortlisted for the green space improvement, which is still being voted on just now. One of the big concerns is we're having a wheelie bin issues in the area. We're now down to 7 wheelie bins and 2 large tyres have been stolen and taken down the woodland walk and set on fire. One of the things that I've brought up repeatedly, because in the police, when you log it, they will give us a crime number so that we can claim it back through North Lanarkshire Council's insurance. North Lanarkshire Council tell me this, they don't do that, but South Lanarkshire Council do. I just have grave concerns because it's been general waste bins that have been getting stolen. People have been offered chains and padlocks, which are no use. It's when they're out in the street for collection. And it's costing these customers £53 a time to get a new wheelie bin. So I don't know if we can look into why North Lanarkshire Council don't claim it off their insurance as the first issue.
I'm going to just see, sorry Nan, just before you move on, I'm just going to see if Pam wants to respond to that particular issue before you bring in any other points.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Khan. Nan, I think I certainly gave an update. I think I got an update from Andrew McPherson and I think I fed that back. And, you know, that's just what you've stated. The Council's insurance policy doesn't allow for, as you know, that's not the insurance policy we've got. I'm not sure what the practice is in South, but, you know, that's not, the Council's insurance policy doesn't allow for that. I think we also clarified that if it's a council tenant, then the council's housing service would pays for the replacement bin. But if it's
they'll not, Pamela. From the last conversation I had with you, my neighbour who is a council tenant, she contacted Clyde Valley, whose response was, "We know nothing about it. Go back to North Lanarkshire Council."
No, sorry, I meant a North Lanarkshire Council tenant, not a
not Clyde Valley, right. Right.
So that's obviously there.
It's just, you know, people are concerned because the council are asking them to put their bins out in the street to be lifted, and then they've got to pay £53 because somebody's stolen it. So it's a big issue.
Thanks for raising it, Nan. I think, you know, we can certainly, well, Pam can certainly have another look, and you know, I think it might make sense that even if you just directly link in with Pam, and we'll try and give you something.
Yeah, we have spoke about it before, but it's become a big problem in this area. And our bins go out on a Friday night, Saturday morning. We're at the corner of the Woodland Walk. They're actually doing it on both sides. So it's a great place to go down, but they're burning it in the middle of the field. And with this dry grass, it's a hazard. We've had to call out the fire brigade a couple of times as well. So it's a waste of resources.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. Nan, did you have another point that you wanted
to? Just an update about the pavilion and the football pitch in the welfare park. They've got back to me to say they're going to be removing the asbestos. I don't have a time frame, but at least that's something positive, because we've now lost the 3 adult teams from the area because they have to have a changing room to play in it. So we've now only got Cleland Boys Club who use the pitch. And the last point was the new bins that are going out. I've got grave concerns because obviously we've got the dog park, and if it's taking long enough to teach people how to use the bins next to the dog park, if the bins are all going to move. But John has just got back to me to tell me that there's going to be a consultation regarding the litter bin strategy before any changes are made in our area.
Okay,
so
that's good.
Positive.
So, yeah, so you've had to reply on that. That's good.
Yeah,
thanks, Nan.
Lovely.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Nan. Any other community updates? No. Okay, so Councillor McGowan.
I was just going to ask Nan, is there CCTV near where the bins are being stolen? And is there any chance of getting CCTV there?
Aggie,
we
had a wheelie bin stolen last Wednesday night into Thursday. Caught in CCTV. as 101 is just an absolute nightmare to get through. So after 40 minutes, we're now using a link that the police have given, the community police have given us, which is Servitor. And you can email them and it goes directly to the community police. Obviously, because of the Queen, they've been through in Edinburgh, but they've been caught in CCTV. Again, you know, what deterrent will they get because they're underage, stealing the bins? You know, they should be made to pay for the bins and clear up the.
Their parents should get a letter.
But it's not even that. They're taking it on the Woodland.
Sorry, I'm going to intervene just because I'm aware of time, and if there's any other community groups want to come in, that's okay. Because we could talk all night about it, as we well know.
Really been saga.
Yeah, absolutely. So the community concordat, Leanne, is it Ian that's given us an update on this, or yourself?
Oh, it is Ian. I'm happy to come in if Ian needs me to clarify, because I'm involved as well, but Ian will lead on this one.
Yeah, happy to take it. Okie doke. The Community Concordat is an ever kind of changing project. We're trying to make it as comprehensive as possible, and to that end, we've kind of changed it a little bit. So some of these updates are literally from yesterday. So one of the first things we're looking to do is change the Community Design Day from the 25th to the 16th of November just now. So that's the first kind of working date for that. In addition to that, we wanted to give more opportunities for more organisations to speak and get their points across. So to that end, we're also looking at dates to hopefully have focus groups with North Lanarkshire Council, the CVS for North Lanarkshire, Police Scotland, Scottish Fire and Rescue, and NHS Lanarkshire. So we'll get back to you once we've confirmed those dates. Beyond that, we have our events that are ongoing just now. They'll be running until probably about late October. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a link in chat. That'll take you to the Vanel website. That'll take you to the Eventbrite for each of these if people are interested in registering to come along and kind of give their thoughts. On the Concordat, we've had some really interesting and quite powerful feedback from the communities that we've been working with. Ideas that kind of tie into some of the stuff you've been talking about today, like better ways to gather data more easily without having to rely on consistent surveys, greater movements for climate change, improving infrastructure, and generally looking to build more kind of community spirit, tackle issues that are obviously facing us just now. But beyond that, we're also looking to take on the appreciative inquiry training with several staff from the NHS, the council, Vanel themselves, and that'll be going on tomorrow and the next day. So that should help to further kind of get this kind of thought process within the organisations to hopefully find better solutions for the public.
Ian, I'm just going to ask you, if you don't mind, because we don't want to make any assumptions that everyone knows what a community concordat is. Would you be able to just give a bit of background on that for those present? Thanks.
Of course, yeah. So the Community Concordat is an agreement between North Lanarkshire stakeholders which sets out shared values and approaches to empowering and investing local communities to support wellbeing, equality, sustainability. So the stakeholders in that question would be the residents of North Lanarkshire themselves, the community and voluntary sector, members of the community board, public bodies such as the council, the NHS, police and Scottish Fire and Rescue, as well as some businesses that have tied into this. So broadly, it's just to find new ways of working. If things are maybe historic issues, maybe we try and find new ways that we might be able to work around them. It's really about kind of having a clear sky, kind of blue sky thinking, and trying to find new ways that we maybe aren't just now. So that's maybe looking at kind of things like Scandinavian models that maybe have, like Iceland, that has 60% engagement year on year with community engagement. So that's the kind of area that we're hoping to move to, because that's kind of similar to what we get for general elections. We want to kind of get that same level of buy-in.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ian. Leanne, have you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I suppose just from my perspective, so Vanel are leading in this work, but working very much in partnership with the council, NHS, Lanarkshire Police, Fire, as Ian said, and with, more importantly, with local communities. Ultimately, I think a concordance just, I think everybody assumes everybody knows what that means, but ultimately it's just an agreement between different parties. So the concordat is really about us as partner agencies working together with communities to come up with an agreement about how we will work together, to deliver the LOIP priorities, what communities can expect from the public sector agencies in terms of engagement, and what we can expect from communities in terms of working with them around local priorities, etc. So it's really just about a set of shared values and principles and an agreement that underpins ultimately the delivery of local priorities through the local outcome improvement plan. So it's really just an agreement about how we'll all work together and what we can expect.
Brilliant, thank you. So it is a really valuable piece of work. I would encourage you all to try and participate and engage and get other people to engage, particularly those from a diverse range of our communities in which we live. So it's really important that if you do want further information, Ian or Leanne can provide that with. Yep, brilliant.
Happy to do so. We actually have a few focus groups that are specifically for kind of minority voices. We really want to emphasise, we want to capture that as well.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you.
Any questions, Nan? Is that a historical hand or have you got a question? No. Okay. Any questions for Ian or Leanne? No, happy to move on. Okay, so routes to work, we don't have a Diane Taylor here, so we'll just move on from that one. And the Recover NL update, is that yourself, Leanne? Or?
Yeah, that's me, Chair. So it's really just a brief reminder to everyone that the Recover NL Environmental Fund is now open for applications for the 2022-23 period, with £150,000 was originally available for distribution. Like last year, the funding is available to existing community and voluntary organisations for community-led environmental focused projects such as litter picks, clean-up, small-scale environmental initiatives. It is only available to constituted organisations with bank account. The fund is specifically for purchasing relevant equipment and materials such as tools, PPE, things like equipment, bin bags, litter pickers, etc. And organisations can apply for up to £2,000 or up to £3,000 if they're submitting a joint bid. The application and the guidance notes have been circulated, but if anybody wants any more information, just let us know. This year the funding will remain open until all the funding has been distributed, so there's not a cut-off date as such. So I suppose we would encourage you, if you want to apply, to get in as early as possible, because I suppose if you wait until later in the year, you'll need to just check the website to make sure that it's still open and that all the funding's not been allocated. This year, the difference this year is the funding has been allocated and shared across the 9 community board areas. And the overall allocation for Motherwell is 24,195. I don't think there's been loads from Motherwell so far, so there should still be funding available. So just really encourage you to get yourself, have a think about if your organisation would be able to make use of that funding, and just let us know and make contact if you've got any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Leanne. What types of projects, I suppose I'm just interested, have been funded in the past, then, just to give maybe some of the community groups an idea of?
So there's been things like purchasing equipment to enable groups to be able to do their own kind of regular litter picks. There's been equipment to help groups to maintain pieces of land, things like that. It's kind of quite small scale. I think it's only 2,000 or 3,000 for a joint application, but it's kind of small scale, and it's really about enabling communities to be able to be involved in the kind of maintenance, upkeep, clearing up and tidying up of their environment around about them. But we can certainly share information on the detail. I've not actually had a look at the specific projects that have come in yet, because we've been kind of collating them, but I can certainly share some more detail if people wanted some ideas.
Yeah, that would be useful. Thanks, Leanne. Councillor McGowan, did you want to come in?
Yeah, just briefly, could you possibly send the link, email the link for it again?
Yes,
Leanne?
no problem.
I did see it, but I'm not sure if I can find it again. So if you could possibly forward that to me.
That's no problem at all, Councillor.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got a couple of standing agenda items. The community coordinators update. Leanne, is that?
That's me.
Yeah, and will you just take us on to the local development programme as well then, Leanne?
Okay, right, I'll go first, Leanne.
Yeah, Pam will do the community coordinator and then I'll come in for the
Right.
local development programme.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thanks, Chair. So, as I say, it was maybe just a couple of updates from the last minute where we covered a few things that were going on in Motherwell that would hopefully be of interest to the community board. So, the first thing was around the town centre action plans, and we have now started that process. We've identified Motherwell as one of the areas to progress the action plans, and I think the first meeting of the consultation forum should have taken place by now. I think it was due to take place at the beginning of September. So anybody that was interested in that has hopefully got the invitation to attend. And if anybody is still interested in being part of that, then please let me know. There will be obviously opportunities for further engagement as we sort of progress with the process. So some of the activity that's linked to the Motherwell Action Plan will obviously be building on some of the work that we talked about earlier with the active travel links, the works to the station that hopefully will end towards the end of the year, the upgrade of the roads, looking at the improvements around Strathclyde Park and how we better link the town centre and Motherwell to the park. So building on the work that's already planned, but also looking at the future priorities for the community. We're also looking at a number of housing projects within the town centre, and again we'd be happy to bring back maybe details of that to a future meeting if that would be of interest to people. So that's I think Councillor McGowan in the past has obviously asked for updates around what's happening with the YMCA building in Brandon Street. We've also purchased the Masonic Halls and looking at options for that around housing and the old town hall. So hopefully that might be of interest for a future update. In terms of the Corsington Tower demolition, again that there was a number of, and I think following sort of feedback from members of the community board, there was some consultation, open public consultation arranged in August, I think the middle of August. So again, hopefully I think that was circulated to the community board circulation list. So the demolition is now underway, albeit very slowly and very carefully, given how close the towers are to existing houses and the main roads. So that work will take some time. I think it's due to complete towards the end, or be fully complete by end of 2023, going into 2024 to fully clear that site. Also, just maybe by some good news for the change, because obviously a lot of what we're hearing in the news is a lot of negative in terms of the cost of living increases and challenges around resources. But again, I think we updated last time around hopefully opportunities for the community board organisations through the Shared Prosperity Fund. And again, I think we'd welcome the opportunity to have further engagement with the community board around some of the opportunities that'll bring, because the council has, as part of the Glasgow City Region investment plan, put forward a number of proposals that are now with the UK government for approval, and that does include funding over £1 million of funding that would be directly for improving volunteering initiatives, looking at opportunities for community enhance community empowerment and capacity building linked to the LOIPs in the area, and also funding for community organisations to improve digital skills. So quite a lot of additional money that's been provisionally identified for that. So we obviously bring that back to the community board to further discussion about how that could be used. So hopefully, as I say, that's a positive. I think that the other update, which I don't think there's anybody on the meeting tonight from the football club, but we were successful in round one for unfortunately it was the only bid that was successful for the Regeneration Capital Grant Fund, and the project that the Motherwell Football Club that put forward has been shortlisted, so we've been asked that we can go forward to stage 2. So again, we'll maybe bring a further update on that to a future meeting. So hopefully a wee bit of positive news and what's usually quite a lot of negative publicity at the moment, but hopefully some positive news around funding. But happy to take any questions, Chair, or if there's anything else anybody would like to get updates on for the future meeting, I'm happy to bring that back.
Thanks, Pam. That's a good update. Any questions? Councillor McGowan?
Thanks, Pamela. That was a very interesting presentation. I'm glad to hear the Town Hall and the YMCA are going ahead. Looking forward to that. You didn't mention the active travel hub. Is it still going ahead near the station? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so there was, that's a good point. Maybe Lorna could have updated on that as part of the presentation. So there's a feasibility study, basically, as you might be aware, looking at whether the active travel hub would be a viable proposition, because obviously that we need to look at how that would be funded going forward, if that would be viable or not. So the feasibility study is still ongoing, but yes, that is still an option, and we would hope that would be a viable option going forward to create a sort of active travel hub, and that could include in terms of being able to access cycle and bikes and so forth. So again, we can bring an update back to a future meeting in terms of the outcome of that feasibility study when it's available.
Thank you. Can I just a secondary comment about something else? I went to the consultation on the demolishing of Coursington Tower. It was utterly fascinating, and the group who were doing it gave you great confidence that they knew exactly what they were doing. Very, very efficient presentation. There's only 5 people at it, unfortunately, and I can't remember the name of the company. I'm sorry to give them a bit of publicity, but it was most impressive how they actually are going to do it so near other houses.
That's good feedback, and I wonder if we can get that feedback passed on, because it's always nice to get some positive feedback.
Yeah, I will do. Thanks for that, Councillor McGowan.
Any more questions? No. Okay, so Leanne, will we pass over to you for the local development programme update?
Yeah, no problem. So this is just the standard report that comes to all of the community board meetings around the local development programme. The detailed report was circulated with the papers. The main body of the report is that standard report. For anyone new to the board, however, a local development programme is a capital programme that can only be used for capital projects on council land. It can cover a range of projects with parking, play provision, heritage features, etc. And communities are encouraged to identify projects through completion of a project proposal form. So we just need to be really clear that a project will not feature or come to the community board for approval until our team has now received a proposal form, and that's just so that we can make sure that it meets the very basic criteria before we move on to that kind of further feasibility work. That enables us to gather basic information, ensure the project meets that criteria and can actually be funded before it progresses any further. LDP is a 5-year programme and we're currently in year 2, so the budget for Motherwell for this year is £219,105. We're not seeking approval for any additional projects tonight, but as always we would encourage groups to engage with us regarding any projects they think might merit consideration within the criteria, and we can advise and support throughout the process. But really keen to help people through the process. So if there's any ideas, come to us first. We'll give you a copy of the proposal form, and we'll start to work through the process with you and get it to a stage that it can come for approval at the community board meeting. Happy to take any questions, although the more local officers in Rose and Darren are not here tonight, so I can answer some questions if there's anything that they're more involved in. I'll take it back and get feedback for yourselves.
Thanks, Leanne. Councillor Kelly?
Thanks, Chair. Just a very quick question, Leanne. You can come back to us on. It's around the CCTV community safety proposals. Do you know if that includes the Duchess Park? We had a community meeting there with residents about ongoing antisocial behaviour, and I think Gary was processing it. It's just to get clarity on it. Thanks.
Yeah, I can actually answer that one to a certain extent, Councillor. Gary Stark was involved in some of the meetings on my behalf because I was on holiday. But that was before Darren, who's the assistant manager. So Gary's equivalent for the Motherwell and Bells Hill area committee post. So it would now be Darren that will be taking it forward. So yes, it does. We are currently engaging with colleagues from the CCTV team and the kind of community safety team to look at options around CCTV. So it does in principle, but there's still a wee bit to go in terms of the feasibility and looking at how that might progress. So I can certainly come back to you with a more detailed update probably in a few weeks' time, if that's okay, Councillor. But I can just give you assurance tonight that we are working on it, and in principle it does include that allocation does include consideration of Duchess Park.
Okay. Any other questions? No. So we're on the final agenda item. Any other competent business? Anyone's got anything they want to raise? Alex?
Yes, please. Earlier on, there was an agenda item tackling poverty and inequalities, and I got a wee bit lost about we don't have such an initiative in Motherwell. Maybe I misheard that at all, but there are boards in Bellshill. There's looking at it elsewhere. I mean, Motherwell, there's a lot of inequalities and there's a heck of a lot of poverty too. And I'm just a wee bit lost. This coming Saturday at a church, we're resuscitating the community breakfast. Before COVID, we were getting about 70 or 80, once a month, 70 or 80 people coming along to that for a free hot-filled roll, cups of tea, coffee, biscuits and so on. Very indebted to Greg's the Baker and to Tesco for help in making it all happen. But the telling thing is that there are families come along there who are very hungry, Chair, and I'm just not too sure whether it's our intention to have a local priority in terms of tackling poverty and inequalities, or whether it's whether I misheard what was said.
No, Alex, I think Leanne's looking to come in, and then Natalie's going to come in response.
Well, thank you very much.
Again, Natalie might have more detail around the kind of operational side of this, because she's probably been more involved for longer than I have in the specific priorities. But I suppose just to clarify to you, Alex, that we're not suggesting that tackling poverty and inequalities is not a priority for Motherwell. It's absolutely so. The local outcome improvement plan for Motherwell that was developed with local community groups and organisations and residents absolutely identified tackling poverty and inequality as a priority. I don't want to speak for Natalie. I think what Natalie was saying was there isn't a specific subgroup set up that looks at that specifically. And I think probably that's the work that our team, along with Natalie, police, fire, etc., the voluntary sector organisations in the area need to do in terms of how do we progress with this priority, because there is loads of work going on in Motherwell area around tackling poverty. There is loads of work and there's absolutely loads of need for that work. But I suppose it's just about what is our mechanism for feeding that in through the community board and making sure that that's highlighted, all of that work's highlighted and coordinated and fed through the appropriate channels. So just to clarify, it's not that it's not a priority, Alex, it's just that there isn't a specific subgroup. That's not to say there shouldn't be a specific subgroup focusing on it, but I think that's there's a local partnership team that as I said, made up of police, fire, health, the key kind of public sector agencies who now need to kind of, I suppose, bring the parts of the local outcome improvement plan to life in terms of working with voluntary sector organisations and making those connections between what's happening on the ground and making sure that that's filtering through to the work of the community board. So there's a lot of connections, I think, to be made, but there's loads of work going on. So I just wanted to provide that bit of reassurance. I don't know if Natalie wanted to say anything more specific than that, because I know, Natalie, you've been involved in that work probably a bit.
I just wanted to apologise. I think that's probably my clumsy wording, Alex, and that what I meant was poverty it runs through every subgroup that we have. So our inequalities action plan actually sits in with our mental health subgroup. So it was really just about my poor wording there, and actually the agenda I think has been a bit confused with the Bells Hill agenda, just with Darren being new to the role and the partnership teams being joined. For Bells Hill and Motherwell, I think there's been a wee bit of crossover, so that was probably my clumsy wording. But inequalities is in everything that we do in health improvement and across the board. And poverty, as I say, it's in every subgroup that we have, as you know, and as you've raised yourself there. Unfortunately, we're seeing really high levels of poverty across North Lanarkshire. It's not just Motherwell, it's not just Bales Hill, and with the cost of living crisis, we will have to constantly make sure that we are on top of that. So I think it's just been my clumsy wording, so I do apologise for any confusion I've caused.
Chair, there's absolutely no need to apologise, and I'm very grateful indeed for the two explanations. It's reassuring to know that this kind of work is being looked at right across the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Alex. Pam, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, and thanks, Alex, for raising it. It's really, I think, at the forefront of all our thoughts and minds at the moment in terms of what more can the council do, and how can we, work with organisations like your own and others to address, mitigate some of the impacts of the cost of living crisis. So it's just really to highlight to the board that the council is looking at pulling together not just what's currently doing, but also what more it could do, and work how, as I say, we can work effectively with the voluntary organisations and third sector. So the intention is to pull that together to present a report to the Policy and Strategy Committee at the end of this month. So hopefully we'll be able to come back out to yourself and to the wider group with for more discussion on that in the very near future.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Pam. Councillor Duffy Lawson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Pamela did pick up on it there, but I just wanted to give some reassurances to our colleague Alex there as well, that as a local authority we are taking it very seriously, and one of the first things that the new Minority Labour administration done was set up a committee to really focus in on tackling poverty, that is being pulled together just now as we speak, because we understand that at the forefront of people's minds right now is the cost of living crisis and how people are going to pay the bills and choosing between eating and heating and paying all kinds of bills just now. So we are taking it very seriously as a Labour minority administration.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks. And finally, Councillor Kelly.
Sorry, Chair, it's just exactly what Councillor Duffy Lawson said. It's really weird. That's at the heart. Ali, very good point. I think you've hopefully been reassured there's been lots and lots of work going on over the years, and it'll continue. It's at the heart of everything we do as all elected members, in terms of poverty and deprivation, and we're aware of the cost of living, and we're working with every sphere of government on it. So it's absolutely a focus in Motherwell. I think hopefully you're reassured now, Alec, Kevin.
I appreciate that very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's no further questions or anything under any competent business, I'd just like to inform members that I'm actually going to be resigning as chairperson. As you know, I'm a new councillor for Ward 18, Motherwell North, so it's not appropriate for me to continue, because for this to be a community board, it needs to be led by a member of the community. So we're open to nominations, so if somebody wants to take on the reins, then please feel free to email Leanne or one of the team, and yeah, I'm happy to pass over the reins to someone else. Any takers? Silence. Okay, so on that note, I'd like to thank you all for attending tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all at the next meeting. Take care.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aisha.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
It does say on here that the next date and time of meeting is to be confirmed, so this will be sent to us later.
It will, Alison. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye then.